Cody Lundin, welcome. Great to have you back in the studios on this featured of SignalsAZ News on Cast11 Network. We're excited. Welcome to the network.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We've been planning for a long time.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. The water's broke and the baby's about to come out.
we're crowded. Yeah, you and I spoke a few years ago at the Prescott Valley Outdoor Summit. I think that's where our conversation started. And it just kind of rolled from there. And then you came in for some special features along the way. And then I'm like, hey, you're local, basically. Welcome to the network. What are you going to be talking about? What's going on?
Well,
what's your vision?
I appreciate the invite. I've been wanting to do a podcast for several years, and things got in the way, life, etc. So when you and others, made that push about, hey, we can do it here, I was like, I'm all in. And you knew that when you because you were there when that offer came in. So keep your ass alive. What I want to talk about is stuff that's not usually being talked about out there. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of nonsense in my field. I teach outdoor survival skills professionally. And unfortunately, my profession is now in the dumpster of junk culture in the U.S. through reality TV shows, social media, etc., with people that aren't real survival instructors that you and your family are listening to, giving you advice that's dubious at best. If I don't, have a doctor's office and practice healthcare because I'm not a physician, but there's a lot of people that aren't in my line of work that are pretending to be. So I'm excited about that. One, because I care about my clients, and my clients are going to be Cast11 people, right? The listeners. Right. That's why I'm here, is ultimately to keep people's asses alive. Right. That's what we're doing. So another reason I'm excited to be here is you folks have pretty much let me do what I want to do. And what I mean by that is too often, and I don't know if people listening to this realize this. Obviously, TV is manipulated, right? Editing's a manipulation. We know that. But there's a lot of people out there, network executives or whatever, that have no clue and no inkling of what I'll be talking about because they're not involved in that profession, that are calling the shots on survival TV shows. So what that means is the viewers are getting information that's been dumbed down quite literally by people in authority positions that are there by whatever corporate massagings that don't know what in the hell they're talking about regarding survival training. And it's important, again, because we're dealing with people's safety. So thank you, one, for an opportunity, and thank you for trusting me enough. And I know Tony, editor extraordinaire, he's going to cut out some of the curse words and whatever, but I'm passionate about what I do because I'm trying to make a difference.
We're not cutting out any words.
Yeah. And I want the listeners right now to know that's rare. Yeah. What you're offering to do on the Keep Your Ass Alive podcast is not commonplace out there, because it's not just me in my basement doing this show. Sure. It's with other people. Their reputations are on the line. I understand about credibility and reputation because that's what I'm concerned about. And that's what's been so mishandled with corporate TV shows.
Well, you brought up something that reminded me, it sounds unrelated, my doctor's appointment a few days ago. And I was in there. Great. My nurse practitioner is a great listener. That's why I love her. But I alluded to some research I did on what I think's going on, why I'm feeling a certain way. She goes, "You didn't self-diagnose, did you?" I go, "No, but I'm trying to get educated in all the different possibilities and have that discussion with you." But where my mind went just now is, do you think, because there's so much information out there, if you've ever researched anything, I'm sure you have, it's almost too much information. And so people then think they're an expert at something. So then a person goes out and really likes, I'll dumb it down, camping, and then starts trying to learn survival skills, and then maybe picks up a few and then decides, I'm going to teach this.
Oh, God.
Right?
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
It's kind of dubious is what you're talking about.
Well, it's what's going on. And unfortunately, the credibility, which it's not, is I've been on a TV show.
Right.
That's the real danger, because people, the average viewing audience, doesn't realize the lack of vetting process or the lack of credibility it takes for someone to be the next TV survival expert. It's
Right.
very dangerous.
Right.
Clearly we're dealing with people's safety. So yeah, there's a lot of dumbing down, again, junk culture. I heard about that from some guy who was a professional boxer, old school. And there's a certain guy who was on YouTube that's now a fighter and whatever. I won't name names,
Right.
but he's an old school boxer trainer from back in the day. And he coined the word, that's where I first heard it, junk culture. He said the sport of boxing is now unfortunately in the realm of junk culture because of X, Y, and Z. And I thought it was a great term. And unfortunately, that's where survival training is. So again, hats off to Cast11 for wanting to do something different and frankly having the guts to tell it like it is, because I know that this is a good news network, but sometimes the news isn't good. And I feel telling the truth trumps being good, right? So what I want to do is keep your ass alive positive, because as a survival instructor, my glass is half full. That's my point.
Right.
I'm trying to motivate people, but also what is really dear to my heart is something called integrity and honesty. Again, because the nature of what we're doing here.
Well, you brought up a good point. Is SignalsAZ, our SignalsAZ.com, our news website's all positive. You're right, but we created the podcast network to bring in genuine, unique voices, whatever those voices are. And so that's why you're here. We don't want a packaged version of Cody Lundin. We want all your raw knowledge. We want the stories of survival. We want you to share the mistakes you've witnessed that have killed people, because you don't have to go very far to go down to Phoenix, to the mountains down there where people hike every year. It's the same thing. It's like a horror movie when they say, don't open the closet, it's like, don't hike up the mountain without the water, because you're going to be that statistic that's going to be on ABC News. And it's so frequent and so often that I just look at my wife and go, they don't watch the news.
Yeah.
So we're super excited to have you and honored. If you want to give, you're going to talk about everything. What do you think the first few things you're going to talk about are going to be?
Well, I have people in the industry, so to speak, that are also friends of mine, because I want to have people on my show that I think are either knowledgeable / that I trust, and I know they're knowledgeable.
Right.
And so they have to go through Wall of Cody vetting, which is tough. And I'm concerned about that, because I'm not interested in having anyone on my show. And so when do I run out of people that I trust? I don't know. I'd like to get into some physical fitness and nutrition for survival. Nice. To interview someone on that. I did the survival show with Cody Lundin. I'd like to bring in some people that worked on that show musically and artistically behind the scenes. I'm way into self-reliance in general, not just survival training, but how do you make a building that's self-reliant, that needs not a lot of heating or cooling? So I'd like to interview an architect I know about that, and other people, self-defense, maybe something on home invasions, other people I know, because what I want this show to be is a show about self-reliance. And for me, that's a massive subject. So it is a show about survival skills, but it's also a show that could have anything that I think could help make a listener safer, more self-reliant, and confident in their lives.
So you're saying you're not only going to host a show and share your expertise, but you're going to bring in subject matter experts that you know and trust.
Correct.
Which is pretty exciting.
Well, what the hell do I know about? I'm not a self-defense person, so I know when to pass the baton. That's part of being a good instructor, is saying I don't know. So you bet I have people I'd want to have on the show that are specialists in their field. And what I really want to do too, it was the impetus of my original thought about a podcast, was like old style radio, have people call in with questions. You can imagine how many thousands of questions there are that people have, troubled times or not, about whatever, camping, self-reliance, building. So I'd like to eventually on this show literally open the phones and do like old school radio, where it's a talk show. and I answer people's questions.
I
Taped,
think
obviously.
we can figure that out. That'd
Yeah.
be very, very cool.
Because that I know it's still happening, but and I know the technology's out there,
Yep.
but that would open it up to one, be a massive public service thing, and also talk about a crap load of episodes, right? Because
Right.
there's many, many people out there.
Right.
Hey, you can get free advice from someone that may or may not know what they're talking about
Yeah.
in a certain subject.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate it. Thank you for joining the Talking Glass Media Network at Cast11 on the podcast side. We're launching in January, it's coming up real soon. So again, thank you. And we will see you in January.
You will. Guy, keep your ass alive in the meantime.
Thank you, Cody.